Welcome to the Queen Divas, Queens of Fitness podcast. Join your hosts, three-time WBFF world champions and WBFF royalty, Alicia Gowans and Stephanie Ayala McHugh, as we explore all things female health, training, competing, mindset, and living the fitness life every day.
So super excited to come back online today after having had a few weeks off with my beautiful co-host, Stephanie.
Hello, everyone. I'm back. I'm here.
And we thought we would take the opportunity today to run through some of the things that have obviously been going down between our last episode where we had the most amazing guest on, Renee. If you haven't listened to it, go back, download it, have a listen, because she was just phenomenal. I don't know, but I really enjoyed having her on, Steph. I've had a lot of people comments since that have listened.
Mindset, absolutely. Her story and everything she had to overcome. I mean, it was such a great episode. And right after that, I got freaking hit like a storm.
And this is what I was just going to say. It's like we had her on and it was all about like health and this and that and mindset. And then literally the reason we have not been online is because, and I thought this was just an amazing topic for us to go into, because as everyone listening to this knows, and I made a joke about it offline, that Stephanie is like one of the fittest fuckers in the US, like quite literally. And she has been
I got hit hard.
so incredibly sick with the vid. She got both Kerry and Steph actually contracted this. And, you know, look, we watched Kerry have it bad, but nowhere near as bad as you. And he seemed to bounce back quite quickly compared to you. And I think this is a really great segue into the fact that, you know, and Kerry's got comorbidities, right? Like he's got serious health conditions that make him at risk for, you know, potentially being a critical.
They're hereditary, guys. He's a healthy man.
He's super fit. He's just literally, you know, conditions with the heart that are just things you've got to be careful with, right?
Exactly.
Kerry, unlike you, had his double jab.
Yeah, you know, what's interesting, and I think this is what a lot of people don't realize, and because COVID is such a topic, of course, for the whole world, I mean, it's a pandemic that everyone's having to endure. What people need to understand is that there's been different variants of COVID going around the world. And with the first wave, I think everyone's a little bit more common with it. A lot of people died. I'm not going to lie. Some immune systems could not obviously survive and get through it. But then you were able to find that a lot of people were asymptomatic. They didn't even have any symptoms, and they were, you know, spreading it around. And this second variant, guys, this Delta variant that is going around is what put me down. That's exactly the variant that I got. I was traveling, taking precautions, leading, you know, from like over a year ago when COVID happened. Like we probably only Texas only locked down for like a month or so, no joke. And I think people don't really understand when I say literally just a month. I think Australia has been locked down for like over a year, and there's a different type of restriction here, you know, when it comes down to different states. You know, I think because of that, we had the ability to travel. We were able to go everywhere, and I didn't get sick, you know, I didn't contract it. And this last time, my immune system was more compromised due to the fact that I did worlds. I definitely leaned out, you know, down-regulated a lot of my immune system as well as hormonal function and everyday nutrients that, you know, depleted from my body. So trying to bounce back from a competition. So this is for anyone that is competing or doing a deficit. I think it's really important for you to prioritize your immune health and just trying to keep literally everything that means boosting your immune system, antioxidants, and really trying to make sure your vitamins are up to par, because this is when we can get more exposed and be more susceptible to catch any virus. It doesn't just mean COVID, right? And so me being in that state, coming post show, I don't really go out, guys. Like I'm a homebody. Like I work from home. Most of the time, a lot of the times I train from home, but now maybe the gym is the only thing that I'll go to. And then sometimes a few times to eat. And I went to the Dallas show. I'm not blaming it on any competitor. It just means that, you know, I was in public. I definitely got a lot of hugs. I was, you know, in contact with so many people, and we both contracted it. We both, like, Carrie got sick a little sooner than I did. And then obviously we lived together, and you know, we were both sick like a dog. And the first week, we really just thought we had flu symptoms. So just to kind of go over some of the symptoms for people to understand too, everyone reacts very differently. Carrie and I both had separate symptoms. Like, we didn't have, sometimes we had similar ones, but we both had complete different symptoms the whole time. And what was weird about everything is the fact of how it comes and goes. I think that was what's the real, it was just hard to, you know, really understand, okay, am I getting better or am I not getting better? I'm regressing, but I'm progressing. So it is one of those things where each individual is going to, you know, catch it differently, feel it differently. It's going to, you know, last differently. I consider myself pretty healthy. I, you know, do everything by trying to take blood markers, you know, as well as, you know, try to eat a very, very healthy diet and train year round, you know, and I think that because of this, we just think we're invincible and that we're not going to catch it. And I mean, it's really important to understand that no matter how healthy you think you are, and how unhealthy you may blame others to be, everyone at some point is going to catch it. And our immune system is going to have to, you know, go through this hole. And with, you know, the vaccination thing, I think, people that have health concerns have, you know, of course, comorbidities that, you know, it's really important for you to get vaccinated. You definitely need to get it. You know, I think that is very important for those that are in the age groups that are higher risks, you know, health concerns that have to do with your heart, as well as like just anything hereditary or just current conditions you have. And in the case of somebody healthy, like in where I'm just referring to, you know, I didn't go ahead and get the vaccination because I did not fall in those groups. I was not at risk. I didn't see the need. I don't have a job that's requiring me to get it, you know, and because of that, you know, I had my choice, and I think it's everyone's choice to make that decision, you know, in order to get it or not. This is not a pro or you know, obviously unvaccinated type of discussion. It just means that, you know, everyone does have to make their own choice and understand that, you know, you are going to be at risk regardless, because you're going to catch it anyway. Guys, you're gonna be vaccinated and unvaccinated, and you're still gonna catch it. Okay. So I think this
is a conversation we've been having a lot lately here, because, you know, I think we've got, so at the moment in Australia, we've got this massive divided situation where you've got people that are pro, you know, vaccine, you've got people that are mega anti-vaccine, conspiracy theorists coming out their fucking ass. And I actually find those people annoying. I can't stand the conspiracy theorists. I'm like, just stay away from me because you really annoy me. But I'm anti-vaccine. Like, again, I'm a big believer.
Hey,
I don't
Allie,
have
though,
an opinion.
there's the pro-vaccine people that are fucking nuts too. Okay, so like, just saying, like, they're out of their brain.
I just stay away from everyone. I can't handle extreme people. I just think extreme either end. Something wired wrong in you, just stay away from me.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
For me personally, I think I don't have a deep-seated opinion on it either way. Like, I really don't care. I think it's up to you, your individual preference. If you want to have it. If you don't. In Australia, though, there are ramifications of not having it, and it's as simple as this. You cannot go to venues, you cannot go to restaurants, you cannot go to salons, you cannot go. The only place they're letting you is to Woolworths and Coles to get your groceries, and a gym. They're actually allowing gyms, which I think is really good.
Americans, are you listening to this shit? I'm just mind blown over here. Americans,
so I'm really happy that they're letting gyms, because I think for mental health, people need to have access to that, right? My biggest thing is this. You're going to get it whether you've had the vaccine or not. And the likelihood of you getting it is really high, especially Christos and I have had this conversation, very, very high when it comes time to travel, right? You're going to inevitably be exposed to it. The concept of having it is not about removing it from you and making you invincible to it. It's about not stressing the community and the infrastructure of the hospitals and not having people in intensive care.
Exactly.
That's what it's actually about. So we actually have this big divide in Australia at the moment. I've got clients where their families are fighting in-house inside the family because they're basically saying, you can't come over to our house because you're not vaccinated. And then they're saying, you know, like, like having these big wars internally. Like I'm talking like brothers to brothers. And all
do you hear what's happening though? It is almost as if they're trying to put everyone against everyone. If it's not a racial war, it's going to be some type of segregation, right? Like it's about this vaccine. Guys, everyone has their own opinion. Everyone has a choice. Like it should not be about being on different sides. It's not about that. Like guys, we are in a household, we're married, like we each made our own decision, okay? Because we both have the right
one vaccinated and one not, right? So
this is kind of the reason why I'm explaining.
I actually use this. I use this as an example when I'm discussing it with people. I'm like, man, if my best mate can be in a marriage and one has vaccine, one hasn't, and they're fine, why are you fighting with your friends and family about this? Like, put it this way, 2 of my best friends are not vaccinated. I don't even know if they will be. Does it annoy me that I can't go to a restaurant with them come the 17th of December? Absolutely. Yeah, it does. Does it annoy me that I can't include them when I go to see a movie or to get reflexology? Fuck yeah, it does. But guess what? That's their choice. I'm okay with it. And I'll cook dinner at home. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not out there telling them they've got to go get it. I'm not excluding them from my environment. And I'm not telling, anyone that I think that it's a necessity. I just think
no one should be shamed.
The consequences
for doing it or not doing 100%. It. You shouldn't point a finger for, hey, you're killing my grandparents. Guys, that is extreme. Like if your parents, if they're going to have a strong enough, honestly, like I understand people where they're coming from, but they're extremists, just kind of like what we're talking about here. They're not really actually taking in the facts, okay? They're trying to close their ears and just listen into the one side of what, obviously they believe, and that's it. Nothing else goes. And you need to understand the facts, okay? Like the studies that are currently still being done, like a study that did, that happened a year ago is not going to be valid for what's currently going on right now. This is a different variant and people are still understanding and learning about the second variant. And look, COVID's not going anywhere. I think this is where reality is.
It's really not going to go nowhere. And this is where, especially if you're in Australia, like no one external to Australia will be allowed into Australia, even when we do open it up to people that are not residents, unless you are double vaccinated with a negative test and then you have a negative test upon entry. Like it's like going to be intense, right?
It's going to be crazy intense for you guys even to get, I think
we can't even go at the moment. We can't even go at the moment from our state to another state that, we live between the 2 states. We've got Canberra and Queensland, right? So we go between these 2 states all of the time. Usually we can't even do that at the moment because up until the 17th of December, they're making you quarantine for 2 weeks upon re-entry. After the 17th of December, they're going to allow us to come back, but you can only travel if you are double vaccinated with negative tests.
And
between our own state. Inside of our own country.
I understand, this is a whole country and people here in the States are dealing it from state to state, just kind of like what you're referring to. Like in New York, for example, we have, even outdoor events requiring to show a vaccine card. They're requiring children that are, as young as 3 years old.
I don't like that. I think
require the vaccination. It gets even mustier, I think, from state to state, because every state has their own belief. They have their own, governor that's going to state, whether they're going to need the vaccine card, and I think that's really where a lot of confusion comes worldwide, because then they think, everyone's on one side or the other. And here, just for the reality and the truth is they're just separating, communities because of the same exact issue you guys are dealing with about, pro or anti, vaccine. And it really, and then people losing their jobs, being required to, get the vaccination. And I think that that's really the issue here. It's really not about COVID anymore, as much as it is that segregation from every, I think individual from from, like you said, from a family standpoint, or whether if it's a work, standpoint, or just a personal belief. And at the end of the day, everyone, like, just make sure you do your research. You shouldn't just believe what the news say, what the media says, what, your best friend said, or someone told you must get it, or you shouldn't get it.
I'll segue by saying your brothers, mothers, uncles, cousins mailbox delivery shouldn't be the person that you go, oh, well, they had a bad experience, so I'm not going to get one. Like,
exactly.
Come on, guys.
Absolutely.
Like, don't take in anecdotal evidence off of people that are 2 and 3 times removed from you as to your evidence on whether or not you get something, right? Like, I think just to do better research than that, I think would be
exactly
the only thing I would say to people. I didn't want to rush into it. I, literally, I didn't care. I was happy to get it. No issues, no hesitation on the fact that we would eventually need it.
Well, you have to travel. You have no way around it. Yeah.
I got it sooner was because we need to travel. We need to be able to attend shows. In Australia, you can't compete and you cannot enter the venue to even support someone competing without proof that you are double vaccinated. End of story. That's a thing. So I can't, when my whole business is around that, not be attending these things.
I felt like that was coming for us, and until like I was literally going to be that person that was going to hold off until like it was a mandatory thing for me to travel. I was going to honestly just wait till then. And same thing, Ali. I wanted to know the research that was going to be done and make sure that it was, first of all, it wasn't even FDA approved when it first came out. So it was more of something that needed to be guinea pigged. And I honestly didn't want to fall underneath that. And I think that everyone's opinion doesn't mean that if you were the first person and you made a, decision to first get vaccinated, that doesn't mean that you were one. I'm just saying that it was something that you were probably either forced, pressured. And if you don't have that pressure to above you, I think you should really take your time to really research and make sure you are informed with the current studies. And I'll keep saying that because the current ones have changed. They have changed. They can prove to you whether you're vaccinated or not, you're gonna get it. So that's not what this war should be about. It should be about precaution and protocols.
Exactly. I was really lucky too, because I actually, obviously being in the thick of my IVF, I had an amazing specialist doctor who literally went in and did a whole bunch of research to find out for myself and then other clients, obviously, what was going to be the safest, the best, the least likely for me to have any negative side effects leading into a point for conception. And then also, if I had to have a booster during pregnancy, which I'm going to have to, what would be the best one. And so I was really lucky. I had really great medical backed advice, and she presented me with data where I was like, yeah, okay, all right, I feel more confident with that. Like, I mean, it's like anything. Sure. It's not fully backed yet, and it's not fully researched yet, but there was enough that gave me enough confidence where I went, well, I'm going to have to get it no matter what. I'm going to be stuck getting it to get anywhere, to go in anywhere, and to travel, which I need to for business. So I'm going to go with what my doctor told me is safest for fertility.
And they know you. For sure.
Exactly. So, and I have a heart condition. So I'm someone that, like Kerry, has those conditions and does have some more high risk comorbidities. And you know what? I had nothing. All I had nothing in my first jab at all, felt not a thing. In my second one, I had that afternoon, I think it was about 5 or 6 hours of a slightly elevated temp and flushed red cheeks. Nothing the next day. Nothing.
So you had Kerry had no symptoms either, just actually go through when he got the vaccination, he got, even his second shot, and he did not get any symptoms like whatsoever. He didn't even have a sore arm, which I think is more common. But he was totally fine. Yeah, I've had clients that were put down from, from getting it, and meaning like their immune system was definitely fighting off those antibodies that are trying to be created. And I think that's another reason why. One thing I will recommend. So anybody, if you guys have this access in Australia, I believe you guys might, I'm not sure, you can, check or, let me know, Ali, is the antibody infusion. Like, it's the monoclonal antibody infusion. It is something that we have access to here. And what it does, it's an IV infusion. So this IV infusion is going to replicate, the actual antibodies that are going to fight against COVID. But it helps your body fight off the symptoms, get obviously alleviated from COVID a lot quicker. No, from COVID itself. Once you get COVID, let's say you've contracted COVID.
No, I don't think we have anything like that. But I also don't, like, we haven't had the cases you had where we've had to have these things developed even. Do you know what I mean? So I think
that's a good point. We have crisis here. Yeah, it was a big crisis.
It's been a bit different. You guys definitely, like, you had the rapid testing structure, like you had all these things well before we did. But if you've got it there and it works, we will no doubt have it here at some point in the very near future, because we get most things after you guys have done them, tried them, tested them. Nothing that I know of at the moment when it comes to that. And I think, you know, as I guess our numbers increase and as we're opening up and as the population starts to just get it more, because it's obviously once they have the higher, vaccination rates, they don't mind just letting it kind of go through the country.
Yeah, let it flow and let it kind of go through your immune system. Yeah. We all have to become immune. Like this world, the whole world at some point has to become immune to this. Same way the flu, kills so many people. We also have a flu vaccine, guys. Like, that's pretty well known.
It doesn't mean you don't catch
them. Exactly. Doesn't mean you don't get it. It just means that you're not going to get the symptoms as bad, right? And that's one thing I think as we're learning, about COVID, that's a good example between Carrie and I is that, he didn't have the symptoms as severe as myself, but he did have them linger a little longer, just kind of coming and going. Again, but it means every individual is different. I was down, just so you guys understand some of my symptoms. So you guys kind of
down.
I was down to where I had like the literal flu, because I really could have sworn it was the flu when I first got it. It was just the body aches, fever over 102, 103 fever, trying to literally sweat out everything. You can't hold anything in, you're really just under the covers, yet you're cold. It's just practically like if you're just a kid. I remember all it did was flash me back to like when I was a child, like just remembering being so sick from the flu. And that's really all I could really relate it to until, the headaches got so bad that I could not, and I kid you not, I couldn't really do anything but lay or sometimes just be lucky enough to kind of walk to the kitchen. Otherwise, Carrie was bringing me everything to bed. Like I couldn't even stand the pounding. Like I felt like my brain in school was open. Like that's the best way to put it. Like it was so tender and like it just felt like you could just take my brain out.
They say that it's all swelling and inflammation.
It's the swelling. It was so bad. And that was when things started moving around. So after like my first 5 days of feeling like that, I lost my taste and smell. And that was kind of a confirmation for me that I'm like, well, I think it is COVID. I've been denying it the whole time. And I've just been telling myself I'm just flu, sick. And once I lost my taste and smell, I was like, shit, okay, I definitely have it. I don't even have to get tested at this point because I was so sick. Like I couldn't even get out of bed. Like, and let alone with like the chest compression and sore throat that started happening after the 5th day, things started moving around. And I think this is where I got a little like scared because once it went to my chest, I had sharp pains. Like if you were getting a knife and just stabbing my chest. And I'm like, how do I breathe? Like, so when the breathing starts getting a little difficult, you're like, but why? Like, why should I go to the hospital? You're starting to think to this point, right? Like maybe I should take myself to the hospital. Like but again, you're not going to get anything better. Okay, I'll be honest, guys. You guys taking yourself to the hospital is not really going unless you really feel like you're going to die, which there was points. I'm not gonna lie. I thought I was like,
my God. This is like I've always said, fucking vaccinated or not, I never want to catch this because I know it's horrendous, right? And I've had enough clients and even people really close to me have it that the concept of getting it, there's nothing worse. Like honestly, it freaks me out. I genuinely then look at someone like you and I'm like, you're honestly one of the healthiest, fittest people I know. I know exactly how you live day to day. So I know how robust your immune system is. Even the way you prep is solid. So I even know that as a slightly compromised immune system, your immune system is still better than 95% of the normal population at its lowest. So for me, when I watched you literally, you couldn't even message when we found out we were pregnant. You were that dead to it. You took a week. You took a week before you could even reply. You're like, guys, I'm so sorry. I'm only just alive again. And I'm like, man, this chick is nearly dead. This is like so bad.
Yeah. It was horrible. Like I couldn't even, it was to the point I got photophobia, which
I started to worry about you. Me and Kerry were worried. And I'm like, I'm getting fucking worried here. Oh my God.
He was worried, bless his heart. Like he would literally walk in and like, shit, she's not getting better. She's like, actually getting worse. And it was at that point when it was the chest pain. So just to explain, the first week was flu symptoms, fevers, body aches. You just kind of have really just nausea was horrible. I couldn't really hold anything down. I couldn't eat solid foods. Like all I was having was like technically chicken soup and sometimes some water because it wouldn't, come back up. And it was just to a point where you just know you're sick. So the second week it turned into chest pains, more sore throat, so more cold symptoms, but at the same time, I had no fevers, but I had the headache that just kept going. And after I had no more flu symptoms, I literally could not look at any light. Like I couldn't do any of my calls with clients. I couldn't do anything that had to do with, blue lights in general, like any type of lighting. I would get massive ringing and just like the head pain was so bad. I'm like in a dark room. I was a vampire for a good 2 weeks, guys. So I didn't leave. I kept everything with black curtains and I couldn't look at my phone, and it was horrible because everyone's sending me such, sweet messages. The clients are worried, like, are you gonna die practically? Like, and I'm not able to do, like, Allie, you gave us the news, and Carrie came in, and I remember kind of cheering in bed. I was cheering in bed, and I was like, yay! Oh, I can't. Okay, I'll turn around and just try to make my chest feel better because it was such a harsh pain. All I could do is curl in a ball to try to like alleviate. Because guys, there's no much. I was taking so many pain medicine, acetaminophen, and trying to just get the fever down and pain, the muscle pain as well as like just the body aches down. It really did not go away. So which is why just things that I did want to kind of cover for anyone that's going through COVID or is having maybe symptoms or starting to feel that they might have it, is making sure you actually switch to aspirin. I think this is one of the mistakes that I made even during this time, that I was taking so much acetaminophen. And I mean, of course, not to the overregulated amount. It just was day to day, guys. I got worried after taking it for 2 straight weeks. I call a doctor, like, guys, I don't think this is healthy. Like, I don't think I'm supposed to take acetaminophen and pain relief medicine for over 2 weeks. Like, I've been taking cough suppressant as well as, pain relievers just to get, fever and pain down. And I don't feel comfortable taking it past 2 weeks. So I'm just not going to take it anymore. And they're like, regulating a little bit more of my dosage. And they're like, aspirin is really what I want you to be taking. Switch over to aspirin. And this is actually from a holistic doctor that I started actually connecting with, because the other was just more of a, your body's going to get through it, right? Like everything is going to be fine. You're fine. You're healthy. They label you as healthy. So they just assume that you're going to be okay. And it wasn't until I started doing some of those protocols that it really did help me. And I boosted more vitamin C. So I normally take about 500 milligrams daily of vitamin C. I boosted that to, 1,000 milligrams. Normally take anywhere from 25 to 50 milligrams of zinc, and I doubled that for a good week. So I was taking about 100 milligrams of zinc daily. I was doubled by my D3 as well. My K2 D3 specifically, what I was taking, I had that at 5,000 IUs. For the first week that I took it, though, that I doubled it, it was 10,000 IUs. And then I went back down to daily of 5,000. And then afterwards, I mean, it was just trying to do like IV therapy, which was the antibody infusion that helped tremendously. And if you don't have that over there in Australia, you guys, the glutathione helped me tremendously as well. And just doing like just getting a B12 booster shot, or, also trying to get, obviously your vitamin C up. I'm sure you guys have some like Myers cocktails type of IVs over there that you guys can order up. But that did make my body feel much more rehydrated. I felt much better. I felt like my bodily fluids were actually kind of normalizing. But then overall, like the medicine that really got rid of COVID for me was ivermectin and hydrochloroquine. And those were the two that were prescribed, and they are prescription medicines. So not everybody, it's just because it wasn't going away. I was to the point, my chest pain just was not, I'm like,
how long did it take before the chest pain started to subside for you, babe?
They didn't go away for a good solid 14 days, like a good solid like I had them ongoing the full 2 weeks. But then afterwards, like I still had lingering for the next week. My symptoms, like they just moved. Like one day it was the chest, the next day it was my throat, the next day my ongoing. I think very common denominator was the head. It was just swelling. Like overall, you just have a headache every day, and you get so down, guys. Like you're just it's not unmotivated. It's like just depressed. Like you're just depressed about what you're going through because you don't really have like anything to look forward to. You have nothing, you can't do anything. And so the more you try to do stuff, I will say I tried working a few times, the more I kept getting sick. So I tried doing a few Skype calls with someone. I'm like, it's just talking, I would hop off the Skype calls and I couldn't breathe. Like it would be to the point like I am just gasping for air I had to go lay down for the rest of the day for just doing like 2 hours. And I'm like, I can't work. Like I can't, this is horrible. But guys, like after the symptoms kind of go down, it's really more of lingering symptoms. Like I still don't have my smell 100% back. My taste came back after. It's a good and bad thing. My taste buds going away was the hardest. I like, especially you get this, Allie, because we're foodies. Like we love taste and we like flavor, and that was the hardest part for me during the whole like downtime, was not being able to taste my food nor smell my coffee or taste my coffee. Like I stopped drinking even coffee because I was so depressed. So I was like, this sucks. Why am I even going to drink it? Like, why am I going to drink it? Smell it? I can't taste it. Like, this is bullshit. I was like, I can't. So I would just cut it out for a couple weeks, and I can taste it now. I'm good. Like I've had my taste buds back. My smell isn't really back. I did smell one of my dogs like a couple days ago that I'm like, I think my smell is coming back. So, that was kind of because I tried buying my mom a perfume for Christmas before she left to El Salvador, and I could not smell any perfume. And those things are strong as hell. And I was like, yeah, I can't smell any of these. So Mom, I hope you like the perfume.
I've got a couple of clients that literally are 6 months on and their smell still hasn't come back properly. I've actually had one that for 3 months still no real taste again. Like some things slight taste, but not full robust taste. And I'm like, oh my God, I'd want to slit my throat.
My face, how many messages I got of people's stories, like from my just from my stories in general. Really telling me their stories, and I was getting so worried. I was getting to the point where I'm like, it's gonna be me. I'm gonna lose my taste buds. God, what did I do? What did I do to deserve to not taste my food the rest of my life? I was depressed. I'm not gonna lie. It was a very humbling, yet something that I think we all learn from all these things that we experience have really made me a lot more grateful for my health and even things that we do every day.
I think you hit the nail on the head though, and this is something I was just going to touch on. It's probably the biggest principle that I talk about with all of my clients when it comes to this process and this whole health scare, is that your health has got to be your primary focus, right? Yes, so if Stephanie, who's one of the healthiest people that we could imagine, got knocked on her ass so bad, imagine if you are compromising your baseline health every day, and then you go into this illness, potentially even vaccinated, but you go into it and your health markers are really low, you're going to have this so much worse than you really need to be experiencing it, right? So I'm a big believer that vaccinated or not vaccinated, let's take that out of the equation for the moment. Focus on your goddamn health. Get your immune system up. Make sure that you're feeding yourself properly. Make sure you're balanced, nutrition covers up all your micros as well as your macros, so that you've got everything your body needs to function optimally and to fight systemic conditions like this, right? I think 100%. Even if you are vaccinated, don't be an idiot and think all of a sudden you're not going to catch it. Still focus on health, because it's a combination of things that will make the severity of this less for you. And if someone so healthy can be knocked on their ass so badly, that's the main reason I wanted to talk about this today, is to show everyone that, hey, you know what? Even the greatest can fall really quite heavily with this. So I think focusing on and looking at daily habits and looking at, the things that you're doing and your lifestyle choices might be the biggest way to prevent this illness being so severe. And it might also be something that, makes, if you do choose to have the vaccine, it even a more protective agent, like, I just think it's got to be about more than just a
1,000%.
magic jab. I think it's got to be your actual focus on health. I think it's got to be.
You nailed it, Ali, because if you can take anything from this, is not even about, whether you should get it, whether you shouldn't. I'm telling you, just from personal experience, as well as just watching a day-to-day, we have so many cases here, so many different type of scenarios. This can kill you. Look, this is just pretty blank, and it's pretty known around the world. If you are not healthy and to a point where you aren't taking care of, of course, your immune health and things that should be your priority, you might get put on your ass, not just like me, but actually end up in the hospital. I know of some other, and this is not to scare anyone, this person was vaccinated. So on top of that, they're still in the hospital 3 months later on a ventilator, and they were healthy. They were actually someone that we consider, they were in the higher risk age group, but they were healthy. So that doesn't mean that, you can't get it or can't get put on your ass or in the hospital or even, die from it. It's just about making sure, if you can take anything from this, is to take care of your health and to prioritize it, and to make sure you are doing things on a day-to-day to improve your blood markers, improve your digestion, improve obviously your hormones, your mentality around, health, because we get so stuck on the physique that we forget our internal health. Yes, so don't always think of just your physical aspect, but think of your internal, self. And it's both spirit, mind, and, obviously organs. I think it's really important.
I also think as the world's opening back up again, and in particular Australians listening to this, just don't lose sight of your hygiene, right? Like, I think one of the best things that happened with COVID was that it really forced everyone to up the ante on their self-care and their hygiene. And it meant that our public zones became, for the first time that I can ever remember in my life, really clean. Like, from toilets to entry points to, even just public handles on things that are constantly being wiped down. It's actually an awesome thing. And I'm actually so grateful. If there was only one good thing that came out of COVID, it was an increased focus on individual levels of hygiene. And I'm an OCD person, so my hygiene's always been like over the top, ridiculous, next level for 5 people type. But no one else around me usually is the same. So I really enjoyed having a much cleaner environment around me where we go. And my only sort of real thing is, I think as people relax more, I think their old habits of just being somewhat freaking dirty are going to come back into play. So just make sure you're really careful about your environment. Make sure you're cleaning yourself and your environment around you. If you're touching things, be aware that if you're touching surfaces, just maybe don't touch your freaking face and your mouth. Like, it's really simple little things, but if you focus on those things, I think it just protects you better.
It does. And making sure where you touched was, making sure you have the right nutrients. Micronutrients are so important, guys. I think because COVID does dehydrate you tremendously, because you can't keep your fluids in, and you really can't, you're nauseated, you can't get all your nutrients in, you get put down even more. Make sure you are getting your micronutrients in just on a daily basis. This is aside from being sick. The daily greens is even an actual supplement that you're able to supplement it on a daily basis if you're not getting and eating a sufficient amount of greens. I think that's very important too. And just making sure you are looking at your blood, seeing what you're deficient in, and adding those things in for yourself, because every person's very different. Sorry. Sorry.
So great. Okay, so I think we've covered off quite a bit there for everyone, and I think I hope I legitimately scared you all into not wanting to catch it. No, I'm just joking. But I hope it is something that's made you aware that, like I said, it was the eye opener for me when I saw, just how sick Steph was for so many weeks. It was that moment of, man, I never want to catch this. Like, I really hope I don't. But at the same time, I think I don't
wish it upon anybody. I really don't wish it upon the way I did. At least I know several people that are asymptomatic, and you may be one of those. I really kept wishing the whole time. I was like, I really wish I was asymptomatic to all this. But clearly I wasn't. And I was feeling every symptom under the sun. I went and I got COVID cleared. I actually was getting tested throughout, trying to make sure if I was COVID clear, and I wasn't. I got a couple negative tests, and then I finally got a positive, well, technically negative, but I was cleared. So, so I'm clear. I'm good. I'm making my comeback. I think we all have to learn that we can make a stronger comeback, from any setback. Time off isn't always the worst thing. I remind myself that, blessings in disguise usually kind of come in this type of way. So I'm going to learn what can I do, to propel myself forward going into, training again, because I know it's going to be a little process to get myself after actually a full month off from training, essentially. It's going to be interesting. So that is definitely going to be a journey. I'll be trying to share as much as I possibly can. But I, appreciate every message. It never went unseen. Even if I didn't respond, I promise, I appreciate, and I really, really, really loved every single one of them. And I just felt the support and just like the concern of everybody, including you, Allie. You guys were always checking up on me and, just making sure I was all right. And I'm alive.
People like down and out for the first week, she's sick. But the second and third weeks was where I was like, fuck, she cannot fucking die, people. Like, I remember having a moment of she cannot be one of the statistics because I just can't handle that. She cannot be.
I thank God every single day, for giving me the strength to get through it and, giving me the opportunity to share. And, any person that is maybe going through it or having some concerns, never hesitate. Like at this point, I feel like I'm like the COVID protocol type of, influencer, because I get thousands like literally of messages like, what do we do if we catch COVID? It's like, guys, if you do go through my story, I'll be putting it in my highlights because I got so many questions about it, just to screenshot the protocols that I was following with, milligrams and stuff like that. Because it was very, very helpful. And from studies and researches that have been done recently, it's actually the best protocol to be following. So I'll be sharing that. And thank you, everyone. And we will catch you guys on the next episode.
Yay. Thanks, Steph.
Thanks, Allie. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Queen Divas, Queens of Fitness podcast. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Queen Divas Pod, on Twitter at Queen Divas 4, and follow our hosts on Instagram, Alicia at Alicia Gowans _WBFF Pro, and Steph at Stephanie Ayala 7. See you all next week.